Hoi! I'm Cybr. We play D&D again today, continuing with our Eiselcross Rime of the Frost Maiden kind of, but not really campaign. And, yeah. Uh, let's do a little recap. Last time we left off, the party had started making their way to Balenpost from Serenia. It was going to take them about 6 days on foot. So we made that journey. Last time we left off, they had fought off some crack cats. They found some dead frost giants and found some stuff off there. They also encountered a few of the elemental spirits chewing us. And halfway through the pine forest, they were attacked by some animated trees and met up with a wild folk ranger, Eiselfair. Eiselfair asked for their help in defeating the source of these trees, a tree that was possessed by a dark spirit. And after a grueling fight, the party had defeated this tree. And that's where we left off last time. So we picked up once again at Baron as well. So the characters had just finished dealing with this tree blight, this corrupting force within the forest, which had withered away until there was just this tree and this vaguely humanoid shaped growth from within it. Teague, the druid, did investigate it, but didn't roll quite high enough to get any sort of details, and nobody else in the party decided to wanted to try and take a look. If they had, they may have come across a few other details. Number one, they would have had a holy symbol of the Arkheart on them, a traditionally elven deity, which may have pointed them in the direction of, hey, this is someone from Serenia. Number two, they would have found the remnants of a broken staff within its hands, which may have been identified as a staff of the woodlands. One of these staves that could be planted in the ground and quickly turn into a tree, which may have, they may have figured out, hey, this staff had tree awakening and tree polymorphing properties. Oh shit, something here happened very, very wrong. And they also may have discovered that the staff was of Aeorian make, possibly having something to do with the corrupted trees. But they also would have found something useful, which is a ring of warmth. A ring that not only helps you be suited to cold environments, but also gives you resistance to cold damage. And man, there are a lot of things that deal cold damage in Rime with the Frost Maiden. They also decided to just, take a dip in this warm spring. Probably the first actual, flowing warm water that they encountered since they got to Eiselcross, where they found, hidden within this spring, some stones that were giving off some, heat. This was a heat stone that I took from the Kobold Press supplement Vault of Magic, which I think, just released. But I thought that, hey, it's a common item. Sure, maybe that's what's causing this hot spring to just spontaneously manifest here. Or maybe maybe the hot spring creates them. I don't know. I don't really want to set that in stone. I just want them to have little warm stones because I think they're neat. But they took 7 of them. So, hey, that's cool. While they were here, Eiselfair also, thanked them for their help and decided to remain down here to just make sure that the corruption was actually going away. None of these things would, these trees wouldn't be animated to attack people anymore. And I sort of hinted that, hey, things are getting better because while the characters were, chilling in the hot spring or warming up in the hot spring, a Chewinga appeared, one of these elemental spirits that they tend to arise whenever, things are okay. And so, that was cute. Eiselfair had saved a couple of people in the party whenever they went down because, hey, I'm throwing CR like 7 monsters at a level 3 party. So he actually did save a couple of the parties. The party asked if he wanted anything in return. He said no. Part of that was, they were helping him with this. It only makes sense that he would also help the party. But also he sort of imparted one of the rules of the Wild Folk, which is people native to Eiselcross hold cooperation as like one of their highest values. And so much so that killing someone else in Eiselcross is punishable by a fate worse than death, which in their eyes is exile. That's useful to the party because there are some wild folk that do not like the outsiders being here and disturbing the Aeorian wreckage, because it sometimes releases things that are better left buried. The party already knows some of this because, hey, they started this off by needing to cure a virus that was released from one of the Aeorian ruins, but Ailefair also talked about a demon that was released from one of the ruins by some of the mages in Balenpost, perhaps referencing one of the Aeorian bioweapons, the reversers that were created. And he said this, or he said that whenever one of these things was released, the twin sister of a druid, or a wild folk druid, named Ravison, was killed. And Ravison hasn't forgiven. Ravison does not like the outsiders because of this, and wants to drive them away. That may come up soon, because Ravison is an NPC in Rime of the Frost Maiden, who is not friendly. But who knows? Maybe the party will be merciful. And maybe they'll reach an understanding. I don't know. The party goes back to camp, where their apprentice wizard, Jacob Diedrich, and Teague's moorbounder, named Kitty, had their stuff. They went, they rested, and the next day, they continued their trek through the forest until Teague noticed some glowing lights. The party spent a good deal discussing whether or not this seems like it would be a trap, or something dangerous, something to lure the party away from the road, similar to will-o-wisps. And it was a pretty good consensus that, like, hey, we should probably not investigate this. We should stay on the road. These things are probably going to kill us. But Teague said, hey, I want to go see it. So the party agreed that Teague and somebody else would go actually check it out. And it was nice. I used the Snow Fairy Market encounter from the DM's Guild. I think it's the DM's Guild Adept supplement. Encounters in the far north. They found some fairies in the snow, who were running a little market. Just like out here in the wilderness, they had found, or they traded for a couple of things. I was rolling off of the Feywild trinkets in Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and one of the items was a rucksack that, in which a potato appeared every day at dawn, and the party immediately went for it. Or specifically, Darius immediately went for it. There was also a pendant with the faces of the moon. Darius was already wearing a necklace that had 2 crescent moons on it. There was no relation. It was just another necklace with crescent moons on it. But they also traded for that. And they also got a Candle of the Deep. Teague, whenever Faye went into the market, they didn't realize it was a market, thought it was just some benches with some trinkets on it. And Faye thought that it was like, oh, I should leave a trinket here. So for the end, Faye gave one of the fairies this doll that Faye had made, just using the materials that Faye had. And they gave it to one of the fairies. And, well, Faye have a weird thing with gifts. where they have to accept it and have to give you something back. So Teague was given an orb of time. It's just an orb that tells you the time of day, like whether it's morning or afternoon or whatever. So hey, it was still neat. The next day was pretty uneventful. They saw a herd of elk, one of which had some like glowy antlers. Nothing was really doing anything to them. They were just mundane elk. However, the next day was the day that they were going to cross the River Inferno. The River Inferno is a mile wide, although in my game I just said like it was going to be a half mile across. It is a river of lava that stretches the entirety of Foreign, the biggest island of Eiselcross. And notably, ice and snow do not melt in the lava. The party knew that it was going to be difficult getting across this, but I decided to make it a little bit easier and also to introduce the big threat of the adventure. It's time to introduce them to the Rime. If you read the section on Eiselcross and the islands of Eiselcross from Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, you may have a good idea of where I'm going with the source of the Rime. But the effects of it, I pulled from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Within the Dungeons Master Tools section of that book, there is a section on magical phenomena, and one of those is something known as Eldritch Storms. And underneath that section of Eldritch Storms, there is one called Threem's Howl. While this storm is going on, which is this intensely cold blizzard, it's a really fucking bad blizzard. During the start of every one of your turns, and these things last 2d10 hours, by the way. If you are in the storm at the start of your turn, you take 2d6 cold damage and cannot regain hit points. I had the blizzard start a couple of seconds after one of Teague's NPCs from their Heroic Chronicle was reintroduced. Not physically. The way that they are connected, or Teague and this other character, is that whenever they're within 1 mile of each other, they share a telepathic connection. And that may have come up just because of the wild magic that happens in Eiselcross. But Teague was contacted by this voice, Zarin, who warned him, "You need to get to shelter. If you can follow, or if you can find the light from my campfire, or like follow my tracks or whatever, you can come take shelter in this cave with me. I'm like clearly within a mile of you, but this storm seems bad." And it was. In fact, poor Jacob Diedrich was about to fucking die. Definitely was knocked unconscious by it. And hey, cannot regain hit points. But the party acted quickly and like covered him, put the warm stones next to him, and quickly were able to get to shelter before any more hit points needed to be taken. I know it says like 2d6 hit points at the start of every turn. We weren't in combat. It's fine. But they made it to this cave to take shelter while this storm was happening. And got a little bit of information from Zarin. So I was doing a loose adaptation of the A Goliath problem adventure from Rime of the Frost Maiden. But Zarin had just left his Goliath camp at Wormdoom Crag here within Eiselcross to seek out Yamanar the Winter Walker, a legendary creature who takes the form of a polar bear or a hulking bipedal shape who sometimes the Goliaths encounter and challenge to test their mettle. That might come up later. They also mentioned that they wanted to sort of get away from the Goliaths for a little bit because they're embroiled in a feud. Zarin is a member of the Thunlakaloga tribe, and they are currently feuding with the Akhenathi tribe of Sky Tower Shelter. These are pulled directly from Rime of the Frost Maiden. there are Goliaths in Eiselcross, at least according to like the critical. So I'm just like, hey, sure, let's just drop him in there. We don't have to change anything. But soon, Jacob was revived. The party got their short rest, and they were ready to cross the River Inferno, which, thanks to this very quick and very powerful blizzard, they were able to find, or there were enough platforms deposited into the lava that weren't going to melt, where they could do a little skill challenge to get across. And it largely went uneventfully. A couple of people slipped and got splashed by a little bit of lava, but no one was. It didn't seem like anybody was in danger of getting submerged in lava, which is great because I did not want to roll 18d10. But eventually, everybody did make it across, and they were able to take another rest before they entered their final day of journey. And I had one final encounter. Now, I mentioned that the Thream's Howl was going to be the big threat of the campaign. Or like the big problem that needs to be solved. And it's not because there's, the raging blizzards going across Eiselcross that are like disrupting supply chains or disrupting expeditions and everything. It's because of what happens whenever you die in it. The party came across a light alongside the road, and it was sort of doing the Tyndall effect, where you shine a light and it reflects. You can see the light beams being refracted. This was a cold light walker, one of the creatures introduced in Rime of the Frostbane. They're supposed to be, or in Rime of the Frostbane, they're created specifically from Oral. And it says it's specifically from a like winter god's fury or something like that. Look, Aeorian artifacts tend to cause undead to be spawned. You've got the frost giant zombies, you've got Feral Saul and all the zombies in there. It made sense that a magical storm created from an Aeorian artifact would be able to cause undead cold things to arise, like the Cold Light Walkers. And that's what I'm going with. If Jacob Diedrich did die during that storm, he also would have risen as a Cold Light Walker. And man, our third party character is not equipped to handle Cold Light Walkers. Whenever the party got into a fight with the Cold Light Walker, it was about 60 feet away. The monk went up to hit it, or it had walked up, but it wasn't close enough to really hit anybody. The monk got up close to begin striking it, and it had an opportunity to use its reaction to make a slam attack. And man, does their slam attack do a shit ton of damage. 25 points distributed between cold and bludgeoning on average, and it was one-shotting people. I specifically did not let it do a multi-attack with its slam attack because I knew the party was gonna fucking die. It did shoot off a couple of cold rays in the same attack, but both of them were missing nil. So, but the party did stay and fight and eventually finish it off. I was kind of hoping that they would have run away, because I would have been a lot less stressed. But through some very clutch rolls, some very clutch misses on my part, and Darius finally using his archetype ability, his ability to manifest echo, the Cold Light Walker was put to rest. And they quickly identified that, oh, this is a Balenpost explorer. This is somebody from the assembly. And they actually did take the body with them to bury, ship home, whatever they do with it. And we ended with the party being greeted by Wardrobe Akron, the mage in charge of Balenpost, who has a job for Toph. And that's where we'll pick up next time. The party is leveling up to level 4 because, quite frankly, at this point they deserve it, because they cross a very harsh environment with a lot of things that wanted to kill them, and we're succeeding, almost. But I have a few things planned for Balenpost. I'm pretty much just taking all the quests from the books between Rime of the Frost Maiden and the Wildmount book that makes sense, and it's just sort of throwing them all in there. Because that helps me just take all the important characters and, flesh it out with a whole bunch of plot hooks. So I think I'm taking 7 of the quests from across the books. I was noodling with the idea of using the Vecnus Twist adventure from Ghosts of Saltmarsh and making that Toph's quest. To that somehow Wardrow Akron would have been alerted to the presence of a remnant cultist within Balenpost, and it would be up to the party to look around and try and figure out who it was, and uncover a plot that was, oh, I found this ship that has a lot of priests and priestesses of Ioun on it that was shipwrecked, and I'm going to summon their souls to attack Balenpost so that I am in charge of the secrets here. That was like my first idea, and I was going to like could keep massaging it until it made sense, but I really couldn't figure out like, okay, but how would, number one, how would Akron know, or how would he have been like clued in on this? And then number 2, what's the motivation for the actual attack? And I really couldn't come up with one. So I decided to put that aside for now. I do have an idea for like the motivation that has to do with another character from Nil's Hero Chronicle that I want to be a significant BBEG, or a significant threat, that I think does make a lot of sense. But I just don't think that sort of thing, I don't think Akron would have been clued in on it, and I don't think that this cultist, whose name is Gender, would really have any reason to make a move right now, or definitely not do anything that would get him caught yet, because if this sort of thing was happening, it would make more sense to play the long game. I think I do want to keep that thread there as something that the party can uncover, because instead I think I'm just going to pull the Spy Hunters adventure from Balenpost and make that Toph's quest. However, because the rest of the party is also there, I think I also want to bring in the Conviction quest, which is oh, by the way, Spy Hunters Wardrow Akron has a suspicion that there are spies from the Empire within Balenpost. Spies from the Empire? Isn't Balenpost an Imperial or a Dwendalian outpost? Kind of. It's a Cerberus assembly outpost. Are you comfy? Akron is going to want these Dwendalian spies to be exposed for him. And the spies are going to want to know about the experiments being conducted in the Balenpost lab. if the party goes and investigates the lab, they're going to kick off the Cold as Ice quest that is also here, where, whoops, a magic accident happened and we made a vampire. It's now killing people. So I think that if they go into the lab, this person, Mira, is going to have been turned into a Nosferatu, lower level vampire, higher than lesser vampire, but lower than actual vampire. And it's going to escape because of the party finding their way into the lab, and then start killing people. Whoops. So hey, there's a lot of quests that actually I think that's every one of the quests for plot hooks from Balenpost already there. However, they're also like, again, I think while the party is investigating, if the party decides to investigate for the Spy Hunters quest, they would also be able to uncover one of the people in here is a remnant cultist, or like they can find the Murmuring Cannon, which is like the blasphemous whispered one thing that's mentioned in the Tal'Dorei guide, and they could try and follow up on that. And whenever the remnant cultist is clued in on the fact that people are looking for them, that would trigger them to like start putting their plan into motion, and then the party might be able to go and actually do the Vecnus Twist thing, exploring a shipwreck in freezing water, which is going to bring up its own lovely challenges. While they're investigating, they may also come across the other necromancer that's here, Valen Harpel. Valen Harpel is one of the Arcane Brotherhood in Rime of the Frost Maiden. Here, I just think she's a non-traditional student of the Sorceress Academy who needs a place to actually practice necromancy outside of the Empire. Because, hey, necromancy's bad, y'all. But, you know, if she is up here and actually, you know, doing stuff for the Assembly, that can probably help further her schooling and stuff. But she also has an eye patch. And, you know, necromancers with missing eyes is kind of a red flag for the Remnant, even though she isn't one. It would have been a really cool red herring for the whole, like, Vecna investigation thing that I kind of wanted to throw in there. But it sort of just makes sense as a coincidence. There are a couple of other quests from Rime of the Frost Maiden that I think would also make sense to trigger from here. Number one, the White Moose. I mentioned Ravison, the wild folk druid. In Rime of the Frost Maiden, she is a frost druid who is also still very pissed about her twin sister being killed. Although I'm not sure what the exact story is there. But she starts awakening some animals to scare off people. One of them is a big white moose that kills people. And it's so fucking cool. But I just think that would be a really cool thing to just be like, hey, the wild folk or some of the wild folk really want to make sure that the explorers know that they are not welcome. So I think that'll be cool. A beautiful mine. I think having a nearby mine where geodes can be retrieved, that would probably help the artificer who's in charge of the Balenpost experiment. I think them needing access to these geodes to continue their research is probably a cool thing, and so the party can go explore that mine. Provisions from Acredius. One of the mages is working on something that will help counteract these like blizzards and stuff. Another cool thing to go after. Dragonbone Stew. Somebody wants to try out making potions of frost resistance. That seems like a thing that the mage outpost would do. But yeah, that's where we're gonna pick up next time. Hopefully I get a good enough grasp on everything that's going on there in order to have a halfway decent, time at Balenpost. Oh, and Dagon under Thornstair. They have coffee for him. That's nice. But yeah, we'll pick it up there next time. Thank y'all for watching. I will see y'all then. Bye.